Having been enjoying this pastime since childhood, I've used quite a few different cameras over the years, each one improving in image quality and my skill set. Up until 2017, I shot most of my activity with the trusty dusty Handycam, which provided AVC HD footage of many great events over the years. As my scope for increasing quality got steeper though, it was becoming clear that something of higher caliber was going to be needed. There was just one sticking point. There are two basic types of cameras that filmmakers in my field use: the DSLR and the camcorder. Each one of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, but I hardly had time to practice with either of them before committing to which one I would rather use. Now, these cameras can be used in just about any type of context. For us rail enthusiasts, all of these traits matter because trains need to be documented exactly the way we all hear and see them. That means using a camera that produces a clear, sharp image, and is one that'd be easy to learn and has just as good audio capturing. So in June 2017, based on what little intel I could gather from fellow videographers, I bit the bullet with the Canon Rebel T5i. Unfortunately, this was such a last-minute grab for me that I made its test run at a photo charter event, and boy did it show. Overexposed shots, out of focus, and the audio quality was way off center. But the one thing that gave me hope was that compared to the previous camera, it did indeed produce a much clearer image, so I was definitely on the right path with this. After having used the T5i for less than a year, I felt that I finally got the hang of it. These are some of the tricks I learned from using the DSLR. To double check the focus, zoom in on the LCD screen. If the image looks fine zoomed out, but blurry zoomed in, that means it can still be just that bit blurry. When the screen is zoomed in, adjust the focus to fine-tune the image's clarity. Ideally, when the image is crystal clear at this level, it looks even clearer at the normal size. It doesn't quite have the 4K or even 6K look to it, but it definitely looks crisp. Check the writing speed of your SD cards. Because this image capturing process is a lot more sensitive, cards that are designed to write data more slowly, like at 48 megabytes per second, can't keep up with the camera, and often will cause the camera to stop recording and freeze up. This is especially bad for one-time shoots. This also happens when the SD cards are low on space. On cards with 32 or 64 gigabytes in capacity, these cards can be recorded on for hours at a time when cleaned up. Having the camera set to scene mode gets the image with as little grain as possible. Any of the manual modes are good too, mostly for shooting photos, but I have noticed how video clips in any of the manual modes make the image look a little grainy. It works at its best when lighting levels are consistent, but the automatic changes in white balancing and saturation adjust are more visible in some clips than others. One thing to be warned about though, the battery level display can be pretty misleading. In my experience, it can show a full charge for a long time, then it can change to 2/3 full, then low battery less than 5 minutes later, and then... So with that in mind, it helps to have a couple of spares on hand in addition to the charger to help get through the day. For all of these perks though, there were some things that I missed about the camcorder, like the ability to smoothly zoom in and out, the ability to monitor audio levels with a simple headphone jack, and the ability to record in low-light environments. So in October of that year, I decided to go for one of Canon's higher range of camcorders, the Vixia G40. Although this item was twice as expensive, the learning curve with this has been a lot less steeper than the DSLR, and has afforded a lot more opportunities that the former couldn't provide. The best feature of this camera is at night, where the image appears a lot less grainy in low-light environments. There are some occasions where the DSLR works well in scenes with staged lighting, but most places that I venture to don't have this luxury. So the camcorder scores well on this front, but even in its best setting, the camcorder's image still retains a fair amount of fuzziness compared to the DSLR, which are usually fixed by sharpening the image in post. But there have been other issues in the past. For example, while photographing CNO 2716 en route to its new home, the camera started to zoom out all by itself. After repeated attempts at getting it to stay still, it finally would set and get the shot. Just. Running this type of risk for a once-in-a-lifetime feat was not the way forward though, so the only option was to send the camcorder to Canon to be fixed, with the warranty long expired. The turnaround time from sending the camera out to getting it back was about 3 weeks, with Canon providing the shipping label for free. I am pleased to say that the camera has been functioning perfectly ever since. But the biggest issue with this camera though is its microphone, which is something that I had forgotten about since my last Canon camera from almost 5 years prior. Listen closely to its default setting. Did you hear how thin the recording got? By default, the microphone automatically reduces its input level depending on the sound's loudness. This has been very problematic for videos where the sound level has to remain consistent. The rest of the audio settings tend to not hold up as well. Eventually, I settled on the music setting, which is normally reserved for capturing sound within vast indoor spaces. After some fine-tuning with the sound settings on both cameras, recording sound with their built-in mics has been made very adequate, unless the wind starts blowing. I thought I would remedy this with a Rode Video Go mic, which is made for the quick setting up and moving out in the field that this kind of work entails. I had read good reviews on it, bought it, got it set up, recorded some samples, and this was what I heard. If you listen closely, you would notice the sudden dip in volume on one side of the mic. Although even this type of mic with its dead cat windsock couldn't begin to surmount the high winds, it did at least alleviate most of the wind noise, but honestly the sound quality sounded roughly the same. At one point on this trip to West Virginia, the camcorder and microphone, after having worked so diligently for over a year together, had the strangest compatibility issue. Suffice to say, this item has been a disappointment for me. If anyone knows a solution or suitable replacement, let me know down in the comments. All of this boils down to the big question: which one of these would I recommend to Railfans? For me, the best possible answer depends on what you want to use it for. For basic documentation of trains with the best possible image clarity, not to mention the ability to take actual photographs that can be used in print, the DSLR is the way to go. It's cheaper, can do more, and does its video work very adequately. The camcorder is quite good too, and still has its low light and optical zoom advantages tied with a lower learning curve to make it a useful add-on. If, however, you want to avoid the high price, there are much lower priced items in the Vixia range that will do the job. For all of their inherent advantages and disadvantages, I have managed to record some exceptionally memorable moments in great quality. Both the T5i and the G40, when used in tandem, have provided some great cinematic offerings, and even greater flexibility while in post-production. Having two cameras to watch over may sound a little pricey, but the price is worth it if you're like me and want to create the best possible product. If the success of these products lead to getting even higher quality camera gear further down the line, then the troubles I have to work around in the meantime will have been worth it. Chances are, some of you guys watching may know a thing or two about getting the most out of these types of cameras. What are some things that you learned about using them? Do you have any tips and tricks of your own? Let's talk about them down in the comments section below, and pull the best of our knowledge when it comes to documenting the things we love most.